Hello and welcome to the Being and Becoming podcast. My name is Logan Howard. We took a little bit of time off, but I'm joined by my two regular friends and conversation partners, Patrick Dyer and Austin Stone. And guys, I thought we'd just kind of start off, maybe shoot the breeze a little bit for this episode, and just wanted to check in with you guys over the last couple months since we've been off, and just kind of let everyone know, all two people know what we've been up to, and what are you guys working on? What's exciting you?
You kick it off, Austin.
Oh, just chilling, being a regular friend here. But before the podcast, we were talking about just some things we've been enjoying, and Patrick brought up one of his favorite stories of all time, Attack on Titan. So this is an anime TV series that is, you said it's gone on for 10 years, and you said it ended last
weekend.
Which
10
we had
years.
talked about previously on a separate episode, so maybe we could get an update, Pat, on kind of some of your thoughts on it now that it's concluded.
To both of you and all listeners, I highly recommend the second greatest story of all time. Start to finish. If you haven't read the manga, don't just watch it. It'll be better. The story is so captivating. There's so many spiritual elements. There's so many. I could just go on and on and on. Keep in mind it's based in World War II, from World War II, so that will help with thematic events.
So a bunch of character development and plot twists. What else do you feel like makes up that story?
Tons. Let's see here. Like you said, the plot development is unbelievable. Character development, plot twists. I mean, I could just go on and on and on. One of my favorite parts is definitely the main character. Well, one of the main characters, his character development and the wonder as to how and why he is in the way he became he is. And that's one of my favorite parts. I don't want to spoil anything for you guys because I want to say something so bad, but I can't, just in case you guys end up seeing it.
I have watched the first episode, and I think I would be interested in watching more of it, so I'm kind of glad you're not saying anything, but yeah, I think I guess I could hop into this. I just had ACL surgery. I tore my ACL and meniscus while we were on our break, so needless to say, I have a lot of time on my hands while I recover from the surgery, and I'm just trying to rest right now. I'm pretty bedridden, so I need a good show.
This is the one. It's about freedom and what humans will do to get it.
Whoa.
And you'll find a lot of irony and just splendor. It's phenomenal. I can't stop talking about it.
A 5 out of 5 star review from Pat. And
yeah, that's for sure.
I'm not sure if you want to go into this too, Pat, but you do have some job news, right? I think since the last time we would have left off. Or has it been longer?
I'm still in the ICU, but there's something really interesting. I thought would be worth mentioning. It was cool because usually we don't really see how well our patients progress after they've been on our floor for a little while and after they leave. But we had this really sad event last May happen. We had this 18-year-old kid just got a full ride scholarship to play football right after his high school graduation, got in a car wreck. So I work on the trauma ICU, and so he ended up on our floor, and I was his nurse for only 2 days of his stay. 2 of probably like his 7 or 8 weeks he was on our floor before they transferred him to another facility. But I wasn't getting almost any reflexes of any kind from him. He had a tracheostomy, so he had a ventilator going into this tube in his throat. I didn't have any pupil reaction from him. Just no nothing. So he wasn't really there very much. And we got a video message from him yesterday at work of him like barely putting together the words "thank you," but somewhere along
Whoa.
the lines, he woke up and he's coming back. He's still mostly paralyzed, but it was just phenomenal to see what the body can recover from, to see that these efforts that we put in are not in vain, and that's just wonderful.
Dude, that's awesome.
So did it kind of feel a little bit like moving heaven and earth to keep him alive, just with all of the support that his body needed in that moment?
I suppose so. Granted, the things that I was doing were, when I was his nurse, they were more just keep him stable type things. So I remember he had a very high heart rate. They were afraid that he may start developing seizures. Trying to think what else. They were definitely concerned that he wasn't having any neurological activity, minus potential seizures. But it was, yeah, so that's scary. So I didn't really do much. I just made sure he was okay. Those things didn't progress, that his heart rate stayed down, hopefully, and that the ventilator kept on working and kept him comfortable, kept his temperature down. If I thought he was in pain, give him pain meds, stuff like that. So, but it's
The long
amazing. You need
journey.
time when you have a traumatic experience like that. It takes time. One of the major issues I remember when the wreck happened, I wasn't his nurse immediately, but he broke his parts of his cervical spine, and so that's why he was paralyzed from there down for a while.
It's amazing to me that they can fix some of that, like once he is paralyzed, or is that going to be like set that way?
I don't know. I really hope and I think he may be okay eventually.
Wow.
I don't know what his trajectory is going to be for now. I can only imagine it's going to be years of hard work, but we'll see. I'm not sure. I hope there's a way that I can find out, because usually we've had plenty of patients on our floor with horrible experiences that we've all taken very hard care for, and then we never really find out how they're doing afterwards. So this was just really nice, because that was, how long ago was May? About 5 months ago, 6 months ago. So
You got that video message. Wow.
yeah, 6 months later. So awesome.
I mean, good nurses like you, I feel like, are the unsung heroes, especially after my experience with just getting the surgery, and even before the surgery, going to all the physical therapy, different doctors and stuff. I mean, when you find someone like you that's really caring about other people and wants to see them succeed and do well, it's really encouraging to hear. And I was telling you guys, and we don't have to go into it a ton right now, but I did not have the best experience with my post-op nurse. Everything else was pretty good, but I didn't have a good experience at the end, like leaving the facility after my surgery. So I have a newfound appreciation for people like you, Patrick, and your team that are, invested in these people, and even months after they leave, like, you still care about them. You want to see how they're doing, and they're, sending you these little progress notes too. I think that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. We appreciate that for sure.
Anytime we can add more of a human touch in the systems or just our daily routines, I think is very worthwhile.
Absolutely.
So Pat, as frustrating as the healthcare system is, it sounds like it is still meaningful work for you, and you find moments where, you're grateful for the impact that you're able to make.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Not all the time. A lot of the meaning gets taken out from how things are run, but sometimes it's good. Yeah.
So while Patrick is caring for serious physical injuries, I'm in the war zone of a junior high classroom these days. And I just kind of wanted to relate some of that to my story, to my experience at this moment, because I'm a first year junior high English teacher, and it's a lot to keep my head above water. And I just had this really encouraging moment. Turns out that the principal of the school I'm teaching at is my mom, and she was doing an observation for one of my classes. So she asked some questions and I answered some questions about it, and then she came in and observed. It was in not a super easy class of mine, pretty energetic seventh graders, and in my head during the whole observation, I was not doing well. I thought I was doing terrible. I just so much damage control, like trying to do an activity, but then so many comments and questions. And my mom saw it as me being a great teacher, answering all the problems. But in my head, I was self-doubting. I had so much self-doubt because she was in the room. My inner voice was kind of screaming at me. So it was so great to get through that and sit down with her a week later. And she was like, just like, what a great, encouraging review. Like, I have always
Wow.
kind of felt like these past couple months that I've been behind, that I've not been on top of my stuff, but that observation, her feedback me feel like I'm actually on top of the work I'm doing.
Awesome.
It's just so easy to be your own worst critic.
Yeah, and I mean, to Patrick's or the comment I made to Patrick earlier, you care so very deeply about what it is you're doing. And I
Yeah.
love to see you in this role, in this capacity right now, because I do think it's growing you and challenging you, but also you have a lot of good skills. Like you're so patient, and a crazy class of seventh graders needs patience
Yeah,
to
very
stay on
true.
track, to get the lesson. And I would be intimidated too if a very great teacher. All three of us have had your mom as a teacher, Austin, and she is phenomenal. So I think it's
Yeah.
completely reasonable for you to have a little nerves or whatnot if she's sitting in on a class, especially. I mean, and then there's the added fact she's your mom too, and whatnot. But shout out Mrs. Stone if
Shout
she's
Yeah.
out.
listening to the podcast. So.
Oh yeah.
Go, Mrs. Stone. Dang, you know what? Yesterday I made cookies and I literally thought about your dad's cookies, Austin. Man, I could
Legendary.
Well, let's
knock
get
out
some
like
background here. This
I could
is
put down like 3 right now. Man.
some okay, some legendary. So my dad makes pancakes the size of watermelons, and he makes cookies the size of pancakes. Um, and the way he makes them is he takes almond bark, which I don't know why they call it almond bark, but it's just like big chunks of chocolate you could get from like Walmart. And he just hacks that stuff up into big chunks, throw it into these huge cookies, and they are the
So
bomb.
beautiful, can make a grown man cry.
Should we be bleeping this out though? His secret recipes kind of getting tossed out into the
He's
internet.
such a giving person. I
I
don't
know.
imagine him being
Dang,
concerned about
I'm
that.
just
I remember this one time, I can't remember which year it was, but we're down in your basement, Austin. I know there's cookies up top. I kept going back and forth, grabbing cookies. And then by the time I was at like the 5th one, I was like, I don't know if I should, but
Which
I
is a
don't
big deal because
care.
Patrick, he cannot. Yeah, how do I say it? He
Well,
can put it down.
Yeah,
here's
I
a
can't
story to
stop.
help explain the point. Is when we were in high school,
Oh gosh.
when we had finished eating,
Oh yeah.
there would be one or two of our classmates that were, sitting in our area that maybe wouldn't have finished their food. Patrick was always the first person to say, "You gonna eat that? You gonna finish that?"
Dan's mom was feeding Patrick.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. Dang, that's so funny. Good times, man.
Oh my gosh.
I
Yeah,
love
my
it.
dad's the kind of guy where he'll just keep offering you food until you absolutely say no, because
You have to turn your plate upside down.
for real, yeah. Oh, okay.
So freaking good.
Yeah. I know. So speaking of good food too, we've moved to Fort Wayne recently. I don't remember if we had announced that on the podcast officially, but my wife Peyton and I moved up to Fort Wayne to be closer to her family. And I work downtown at a great insurance brokerage company that I've grown to love over the last few months. And I found there's so many good spots to eat in Fort Wayne. So whenever you guys are up here, like I really want to take you guys out and kind of show you the downtown.
Oh, heck
Heck
yeah.
yeah.
And if you're listening to our show, if you're one of the faithful few listeners still tuning in, I would highly recommend just go to Fort Wayne to visit. It's a fun little spot. I don't think it's too expensive. It's everything seems relatively affordable, but we got some good food up here.
I can't remember for the life of me where it's at in Indiana. Is it the northeast corner?
It is. It's northeast. It's
Oh,
close to
wow.
the Ohio border, but it's also close to the Michigan border.
Okay,
So
so
you
it's way
could
up
really
there.
be to either place in about 30 minutes or so.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
somehow I don't know how I remembered that. Dang.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good little location. I like it. I
One
think
of our
long
history
term. Oh, sorry.
one of our history teachers, Mr. Johnson, is from Fort Wayne.
Was he really?
I don't think I
I
knew
didn't know
that.
that.
Yeah,
I knew
didn't
he
know
went
that
to
either.
college in Indiana, I'm pretty sure, right? Like shoot, he played football at like Defiance or something, or maybe Defiance is
See, I
in
don't even
Ohio.
know that.
So it was one of those. Mr. Johnson, maybe reach out to us if we're definitely getting some information wrong on this, or I am getting some information wrong. But needless to say, yeah, it's a good spot. I think long term we want to end up in Michigan, or I would like to end up in Michigan, I should say. But Fort Wayne's been a nice little stop on the journey. So
Shoot, speaking of long term, wow. I wonder if looking back if this will come true. So my brother and sister, Ian and Grace, live together down in Naples, Florida. They're begging me to come join them.
Yeah.
I probably
tempting.
will one day, even though I'm more of a cold weather person, but evidently my mom and dad are planning to move down there now too, and
Really?
in 2 or less years. Yeah. So I was like, what the frick? I'm not staying in Texas. I will not stay in this forsaken place. Gosh.
Oh, there it is. It's
Yeah.
not a
When I leave-
podcast without that.
That's true. It's
We
not a
went
podcast.
almost 20 minutes without a dig on
That's true.
Texas.
It's not official if I'm not mentioning my hatred towards this place, but maybe it'll burn down when I leave or something. I don't know. But
Well, it seems like that would be a good change though for you, and the family's already going to be there. I feel like that makes it an easier sell
it
to
it
get down
would.
there.
If my parents were down there right now, I'd probably start heading down there right now. But anyway, I may end up there in 2 years. We'll see.
Exciting.
It's weird.
We got a lot cooking up over these last couple of months. At
Yo,
least stuff in the works, it seems like.
there's another thing about where they live in Naples. So the first time I went down there to visit, and this is the very southwest corner of Florida. There's just Ohio license plates everywhere, and most of them say Cincinnati,
Wow.
Mason, Westchester, and I was like, "Yo, what the heck?" And then there's multiple Fifth Third banks down there, and then there's even Skyline Chili down there.
No, there's
Wow.
not.
Yeah, there is. Dead
No
serious.
way.
Yeah, I'm dead serious. That's how many
Wow.
people from Cincinnati, Ohio, but also Cincinnati have literally made it down to Naples.
Could they be
Blows my mind.
snowbirds though? You know, have the second home down there. They're living there for a couple months out of the year or something.
Probably. It's a very wealthy area for sure, which is nice. All the more reason I'm going to need to get a Corvette soon. But
Oh boy.
if
I think
I'm not-
we talked about that briefly in one episode. Is that still something that's in the works?
it's in the works, and like 5 to 10 years from now, I make like 50 cents. So like, I got a
Nice.
lot of saving to do.
In my family, it's an inside joke. If someone brings something up often enough, we say bingo. So certain comments or
That's
things,
funny.
usually my dad says, like, we'll just throw a bingo out, and a Corvette is definitely a bingo for Patrick.
Well, I think
And
this
hating Texas.
this episode is riddled with bingos because we have the hating the Texas, we have the Corvette, we have the maybe that's it. Am I missing
Mostly
something
it's
else?
just my nihilism.
Oh, the nihilism coming out.
Brought it back full circle.
Pat had mentioned his favorite story, and I'm reading Dune by Frank Herbert right now. So maybe that's something I could just bring up and talk about what makes a good story, and maybe I'd ask Logan what you're reading or doing since you're down and out nowadays.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Okay. So Pat, when you mentioned Attack on Titan, it reminded me of a story that I've been enjoying. I opened up Dune by Frank Herbert, which is the movie came out in 21 with Timothy Chalamet. Is that how you say his name?
Not
Famous
sure.
actor. Okay. Anyway, it's just been a fun story to read because I've been needing a break from nonfiction, and the flow is so engaging, but it's also got quite a bit of philosophy. Has a lot of connections to, it's kind of some social commentary going on too, because it's a desert planet and there's like a really prized resource that comes from that planet, and it's very desert-y, so it's reminiscent of like the Middle East and oil. And there's some Catholic Christian references, there's some Islamic references, and it's like way into the future. So they have like, they call it the Orange Catholic Bible. It's like really cool to see just the philosophy that's tied into the story. That I've really been enjoying that.
Have you ever had interest in that, Pat, or are you familiar with Dune?
I'm not actually.
Okay.
Our comic book friend Dakota, he was talking to Logan and I about it about a year ago.
Yeah, and those books are long, man. That's the one thing I do remember about that. I'm like, ooh, it feels like a big commitment because they're like close to 1,000. They're like the Harry Potter books, I feel like, or maybe
Geez,
longer.
1,000 pages.
800, yeah.
Holy, dang.
Yeah. So I was gifted a book by my good friend Nate Urban, who also came to visit me with some of our other friends this past week, and he gave me a book. I think it's called Ender Game or Ender's Game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm about
I've
100
heard about
pages
that.
in. I just started that a couple days ago, but it's an interesting psychological kind of futuristic, you know, military society kind of book. And yeah, I'm not done with it yet, but it's a really fascinating read. It's, I think, more targeted for like high school students probably, but yeah, I would, based on what I've read so far, I'd probably recommend it to our audience or whatnot if they're looking for kind of like a quick, fun but thought-provoking kind of read. And then Aaliyah got me a book, and I forget the name of it. I've read a chapter of it, but I will have to bring that up on our next conversation. Oh, my mom just had a round of applause for Shelley Howard, everyone. It's called Liturgy of the Ordinary by Tish Harrison Warren.
That's a good title.
So that's, Aaliyah got me that for some reading. I've read a chapter of that. Just came today, the day we're recording this. So yeah,
That's thoughtful for her.
Well, hey, I think it was good just kind of touching base and catching up a little bit, guys. I'm excited to get into this next season, if you will, of the podcast. I think, I hope we have a lot of good conversations, a lot more guests. And yeah, I think unless you guys had did you have any closing notes or thoughts?
It's great to be with you three again.
Absolutely. I second that.
Amen. All right, everyone. Until next time. Peace.